Let me tell you something that most men don't realize until it's too late. Women notice when your interest starts to fade, and it completely flips the script. You think you're the one pulling back, but from her side, it feels like the ground beneath her just shifted. And the truth is the way a woman reacts when she realizes you've lost interest says more about her feelings for you than anything she's ever told you out loud. Here's the part that might surprise you. Women don't just react one way. Some panic. Some pretend they don't care. Others suddenly start chasing, even if they weren't giving you much before. Why? Because a man losing interest taps into a woman's deepest psychology, her ego, her pride, and yes, even her emotions for you. It forces her to confront something she usually tries to control, the fear of no longer being desired. Now here's where most men get it wrong. You think when she reacts it means you're suddenly in control. You think it's about playing games or being hard to get. But that's not what this is about. When a woman senses your interest slipping, she goes into self-preservation mode. She starts asking herself, why is he pulling away? What does this mean about me? Do I need to fix this, or should I move on before I get hurt? And depending on her personality, her level of interest, and yes, even her emotional maturity, her reaction will look completely different. That's why you need to understand what's really happening inside her mind. Because once you know how women actually think in these moments, you stop guessing. You stop chasing clarity from her, and instead you start seeing the truth for what it is. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how women react when they realize you've lost interest, and I'll break it down in a way no one really explains directly, honestly, and from a female perspective. Her ego takes the first hit. Her ego takes the first hit. The very first thing you need to understand is this. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, her ego feels it before her heart does. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth. Women are wired to want validation, not because we're weak, but because attention from a man we're involved with confirms our value in the dynamic. When that attention shifts, the ego takes a direct hit. It's not always about deep love or connection in that moment, it's about her pride. Women are used to being the ones pursued, desired, and prioritized. And when a man suddenly stops showing interest, it feels like rejection on a level we don't want to admit. Even the most confident woman can feel that sting. Here's how it usually plays out. She notices you don't text as much, or your replies get shorter, or you don't initiate plans the way you used to. At first, she tells herself, he's just busy. She tries to brush it off, but the longer it goes on, the more she starts to wonder, why isn't he giving me the same energy anymore? What changed? That question doesn't just hit her. Emotionally, it bruises her ego, and this is where women react in different ways. Some will try to overcompensate, suddenly giving you more attention, flirting harder, or acting sweeter than usual. It's not always genuine desire. Sometimes it's a way of regaining that sense of control. Other women will swing the opposite way. They'll act colder, distant, or even a little dismissive. That's a defense mechanism, a way to protect themselves from feeling rejected. What's important for you as a man is to recognize that this first reaction isn't always about how much she truly values you. It's about how much she values being valued. The ego gets triggered before the heart has time to catch up. This is why so many men get confused. You think her sudden chase means she's in love with you, or you assume her coldness means she never cared. To the panic behind the calm. The panic behind the calm. On the surface, most women will try to act calm when they realize you've lost interest. She might act like nothing's wrong. She might even laugh and pretend she doesn't notice, but inside, there's panic. And the reason is simple. Women are extremely tuned into shifts in energy. We notice little things. The tone of your texts, how quickly you respond, The way your body language changes. Even if you don't say anything, we feel it. And when we sense you pulling back, the calm face is usually just a mask. That panic comes from uncertainty. A woman wants to feel secure in your attention, even if she's not fully invested in you yet. When you pull away, it throws her balance off. She starts questioning. Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest because of me? Or is he just distracted? Is there someone else? These thoughts don't always come out of love. Often they come out of fear. Fear of losing control in the dynamic. Fear of being discarded. Fear of being less than in your eyes. Now, here's what men often misunderstand. When a woman is panicking internally, she rarely shows it directly. Instead, it comes out in indirect behaviors. She might get a little more sarcastic with you. She might start testing you with small comments to see if you react. She might act like she doesn't care at all, which is usually the opposite of how she really feels. All of these are ways to soothe her ego and mask that inner panic. But make no mistake, even the most confident woman feels it. When you lose interest, it signals to her that the dynamic has shifted, and now she's not in the position she thought she was in, and for a lot of women, that's uncomfortable. It shakes the sense of security she had in the interaction. For you as a man, this is where you need clarity. Don't assume her calm face means she's unaffected, and don't assume her sarcasm or distance means she's truly over you. In reality, many women use those masks to cover the fact that inside they're unsettled and unsure of where they stand. The panic behind the calm is real. It's not always about love. It's not always about losing you, specifically. Sometimes it's just about losing the comfort of your attention. And that's a hard pill for men to swallow, but it's the truth. So when she acts calm, understand that it might not be calmness at all. It might be quiet, chaos. And if you know how to read, that you'll stop taking her surface reactions at face value and start seeing what's actually happening underneath. 3. Why she suddenly starts testing you. Why she suddenly starts testing you. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, one of the most common reactions you'll see is testing. And let me be clear, these tests aren't random. They're her way of trying to figure out exactly where she stands with you now that your energy has shifted. Here's the truth. Women test when they feel insecure or uncertain. It's not always intentional, but it's how we measure whether a man is still invested. If you've pulled back, we want to know, is this real distance, or is he just distracted? Is he losing interest in me, or is he trying to see how I'll react? And the easiest way for us to get that answer is to push a little and see how you respond. The tests can show up in different forms. Sometimes she'll act more distant herself just to see if you'll chase. Sometimes she'll throw in a jealous comment, like mentioning another guy or forgetting to prioritize you to check if it triggers a reaction. Other times, she'll suddenly become extra sweet and affectionate just to see if you lean back in or stay withdrawn. None of this is about the surface behavior. It's about her needing clarity. Women don't like to sit in uncertainty. We want to know where things stand, even if the truth stings. If you're losing interest, we feel it, but we don't always want to confront it directly. So, instead, we test. Now here's where most men mess up. You take the test too personally. You get annoyed, defensive, or start arguing. What you need to realize is that a test isn't always about drama. It's a signal. It means she's unsure. It means she feels the distance and doesn't know how to interpret it. If you're calm and consistent when she tests you, it tells her something very powerful. You're not shaken, you're not easily manipulated, and you're not going to bend just because she wants reassurance. That doesn't mean you play games back. It means you hold steady. But if you overreact, chase harder, or suddenly pour out reassurance, you've just confirmed her fear. You've told her, yes, I was pulling back and now I'm rushing to fix it because your test worked. And that gives her the control back, which is exactly what she was reaching for. So the bottom line is this. When she suddenly starts testing, You don't see it as childish or manipulative. See it for what it really is. A woman trying to find her footing. After she feels you've pulled away, how you respond in that moment says everything. About whether the dynamic shifts back in your favor or if you hand her the upper hand without even realizing it are. The silent shift in power. The silent shift. In power. Here's something most men overlook. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, the power in the dynamic silently shifts. Up until that moment, she was the one with the advantage. She had your attention, your energy, your pursuit, but the second she senses that pullback, everything changes. Why? Because women know that a man's interest is the currency that keeps the connection alive. When you stop spending it, she can no longer assume control. That shift might not be obvious in the way she talks to you or the way she acts in public, but internally she feels it. And for many women, it's unsettling. Think about it. As long as she knows you want her, she can relax. She knows she's desired and that security allows her to call the shots. But when your interest fades, she doesn't feel secure anymore. Suddenly, she's on the other side of the equation. She's the one wondering, does he still want me? Do I still have him? That switch forces her into a position she doesn't always like, the one where she has to prove her value again. And here's the part you need to really hear. Once that power shifts, her behavior changes, even if she doesn't show it. Outwardly, she starts to rethink everything. She might begin to evaluate her own effort. Am I giving enough? She might second guess her choices. Did I push him away? Or she might even feel resentment. Why isn't he chasing me like before now? Whether this shift works in your favor depends entirely on how you handle it. If you notice her reacting and you rush to fill the gap by chasing harder, you give that why. Tower right back. But if you stay calm, grounded, and consistent, you hold your position and she feels that difference. This isn't about being cold or manipulative. It's about balance. The power in relationships naturally shifts back and forth, but most, men never realize when it's happening. They get stuck always being the one chasing, the one proving, the one giving. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, you finally get to see what happens when the dynamic flips. And here's the honest truth. Women respect men who don't panic during that shift. If you can stay centered, it forces her to confront her own feelings and decide if she truly values you enough to meet your energy. That's where the clarity comes in. So, remember this: the moment she feels your disinterest, the silent shift in power, is real. What you do next determines whether she steps up or checks out. But one thing is certain: she no longer has the easy control she once did, and deep down, she knows it. 5. When curiosity turns into obsession. Once a woman realizes you've lost interest, something happens inside her that can be hard for men to believe. Her curiosity starts to grow. At first it's small, she just wonders why your energy feels different. But if you stay consistent in that disinterest, that curiosity can grow into a kind of obsession. This isn't about love in the beginning, it's about uncertainty. Women hate not knowing where they stand. When a man pulls away, it creates a gap. And that gap makes her restless. She starts checking for clues, trying to figure out why things changed. Maybe she goes back through old messages to see when your tone shifted. Maybe she pays closer attention to how you behave when you're around other women, or maybe she just sits there asking herself what's going on with him. Why doesn't he want me like before? I'll tell you how this looks in real life. Picture this. She's used to you being the one who sends the good morning text, but now 2 days pass and nothing comes from you. She tells herself she doesn't care. She's not going to be the one to. When she acts like she doesn't care, she often goes quiet. She sometimes pulls away. This is not because she doesn't value you anymore. It's often the final defense, a way to protect her heart. After she's tried to process the shift in your interest, she's absorbing the change, trying to see if your disappearance was intentional or random. Now you might think silence means indifference, but in truth, it's a complex signal. It's her last check before closing the emotional chapter. It's the calm before the full emotional release. It's the moment of clarity. She gives herself to decide whether to stay or walk away, and once she walks away, it's rarely temporary. It's a decision she doesn't make lightly. And the longer she stays silent, the stronger her resolve becomes. And ultimately, that quiet moment defines the end of possibility, not just the lull in conversation. At this point, the dynamic has fundamentally shifted, and you're no longer just absent. You're erased. You're no longer an option. You're a question without an answer. And that unanswered question no longer holds intrigue. It holds closure, unless you choose to reintroduce a clarity and respect and genuine presence, not as a chase or a response, but as a deliberate reconnection. Because being absent long enough doesn't create mystery. It just empties the story. And once that happens, you're in danger of being forgotten. And this is where most men trip up. They mistake withdrawal for leverage. Forgetting that at the heart of connection is mutual investment, interest, energy, attention, reciprocation. And when you suspend your interest without context, without clarity, what you're really communicating is avoidance. And that's not attraction, that's rejection, that's disconnection. So if at this point you're reflecting and you realize you still care, then the return must be authentic, confident, respectful. It's not about reclaiming something you earned by absence. It's about representing yourself as someone worthy of her energy without apology, without pressure, just with grounded authenticity that matches the energy you hope to receive. Because truth is, women respond to real, not reactive. Let me be clear, this isn't about tactics. It's about awareness. It's about emotional alignment. It's about honoring that when someone cares and senses disinterest, there's a mental and emotional cascade. She isn't playing games, she's responding to how your energy landed, and now what she needs is clarity, not confusion, genuine presence, not performance interest, not insecurity, measured consistency, not withdrawal. So if you choose to re-engage, let it be from a place of composed intent demonstrating you understand the shift, and you choose to value her enough to show up not out of fear but out of conviction. Then you're not reversing a reaction, you're re-establishing connection on new terms, and that is powerful because it's rooted in choice, awareness, and integrity. This is the moment most men ignore. Most men stay silent longer, thinking the longer they wait, the better the outcome. But in reality, the longer the silence, the harder it is to bridge the gap, because emotions don't stay suspended. If left unchecked, they settle into detachment, regret, or indifference, and bringing someone back from that is possible, but requires humility, consistency, transparency, and time, not tricks, apologies, or shortcuts. It's about earning connection, not demanding it. So here's the elevated insight you need to embed into your awareness and eventually your energy. This dynamic isn't about power or control, it's about authenticity and respect. It's about matching energy, not manufacturing it. It's about offering presence, not withholding it. It's about building intrigue, not provoking drama when a woman walks away or detaches because of your indifference. It's a reflection of how your energy landed in her world. And it's your opportunity to recalibrate. If you're still present, if you still value what you had and want to rediscover where that came from, then show up fully. Not because she chased, not because you're correcting, but because you're choosing to engage from your true intention. And of course, this entire process needs context, clarity, alignment, because relationships are not linear. They're emotional, the way people feel shifts, and knowing that your presence or absence impacts that trajectory means you're responsible for it. Not manipulating it, but respecting it. If that means letting go to preserve peace, that's a choice. If it means returning thoughtfully, that's another choice. Both come from integrity, not strategy. So, to sum up this continued part in the voice of Dark Facts 2, CRO, remember this. The quiet reaction isn't indifference, it's reflection. The silent shift isn't disengagement, it's decision. And your role isn't to push, chase, or manipulate, but to understand, recalibrate. And if you're still invested, to show up with clarity, presence, and respect.